Families have a lot going on. Let Ollie help manage the mental load with new cognitive health supplements for everyone 4 and up, like delicious Lolly Focus Pops or Lolly Mellow Pops for kids. And for parents, try 3 new Brainy Chews to help you focus, chill out, or get energized. Find these cognitive health buddies for the whole fam at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
At Evernorth Health Services, we believe costs shouldn't get in the way of life-changing care, and we're doing everything in our power to make it possible. Behavioral health solutions that also keep your projections at their best? It's possible. Pharmacy benefits that benefit your bottom line? It's possible. Complex specialty care that cares about your ROI? It's possible. Because we're already doing it. All while saving businesses billions. That's Wonder made possible. Learn more at evernorth.com/wonder.
Savage Real talk, no filter on Savaged Unfiltered. Savaged.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to Savaged Unfiltered. I'm your host, Savage here. Guys, we have a returning guest here by the name of Herbie K. I've had him on once before here on the show. It's been a hot minute since I've had him on, so I wanted to bring him back on because we discussed a lot on the other episode with him. We discussed crime. We discussed everything from his principle of, the 1964 plan, which I do want to get a little bit into that. If you guys missed the last episode, I highly suggest you check that out on the library. It's going back now. Oh God, what's shaky? About maybe 30 episodes now. It's been a hot minute since I've had him on. I'm trying to guess how many episodes back. I don't have the actual library on there, guys. You can check us out on iHeart, Apple, Pandora, Spotify, Rumble. He's there. You have to go all the way down the library. But a really, really interesting set of topics we discussed. But I mainly want to focus on crime, with historic crime rates that you're seeing here, in the country here, with homelessness, with illegals. I mean, there is a lot, guys. But without further ado, I know Herbie does want to mention a few things. We've had a previous guest actually on yesterday. If you guys checked out that episode with Peter Serafine with his book and a lot of his material relating towards the Constitution. And we got into a little bit of January 6th with the insurrection. A lot of people calling it insurrection, but a lot of people labeling it entirely different. But without further ado, I want to bring my good friend on, Herbie. Herbie, welcome back to the show, man. How you doing?
I am doing great. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for being part of the show. I know you want to discuss a little bit about the previous guests I had on. We had discussed in the green room. Yeah.
It's just, as I was coming on the show, just before I was coming on the show, I was writing my blog for my Substack today. And by the way, my blog can be found, a link to it, from the 1964plan.org. That's my nonprofit's website. So anyone who wants to can go to the 1964plan.org and you can link to the Substack. Okay, enough in advertising. In the blog today, and what I was discussing was, it's everything that your guest Peter Serafine said I agreed with. I was listening to him, and he made a lot of good points, and his book is solid, and I don't disagree with the premises of any of it, other than we're already over the cliff. What everyone keeps saying is we're on the edge looking down, and I think that we've gone over it, and everything that everyone's talking about the wrong subject. It's too late to save the status quo. It's too late. And if you don't mind, briefly, I'll tell you why. The title of today...
Yeah, you're fine, yeah.
Okay, the title of my Substack today is Joseph Biden is the worst president in American history. Now, before I go into why that is, just for a moment...
Without a doubt.
Well, but I want to quickly point out, it's not for the reasons people think, and I do not think Donald Trump is a viable alternative. I'm going to be honest. Because Donald Trump, and you'll understand why in just a minute, has ruled out the one thing that has to be ruled in. So let me just back up for a moment and discuss why I think we're over the edge. Joe Biden is not the worst president in American history just because he screwed up the border. Okay, I understand that everybody's red hot about it. I understand that there are a lot of people red hot about Ukraine, red hot about Israel, red hot about Palestine, red hot about EVs, red hot about a lot of things that he did, losing our energy independence. I could go down the list right with you. However, at the top of the list, what makes him surpass, and a lot of people, by the way, let me just digress slightly, are always, I've read all those articles. Who's the worst president? The Democrats say it's Donald Trump. The Republicans say it's Joe Biden or Barack Obama. That's all current political bullshit. You cannot possibly analyze the presidency while you're living during it. This is why history has to be written by people who were born after everybody involved with with whoever they're analyzing is dead, because all of us are victims of our own cognitive biases. And we live in an echo chamber of them. People on the right only listen to the right, people on the left only listen to the left, and they're all missing the story, which is Joe Biden has surpassed the previous worst president in history, James Buchanan, who, just digressing slightly, is our only gay president, by the way. Just want to point that out. It's just historical interest. I don't care if you're gay. Like Seinfeld says, not that there's anything wrong with it, but he was definitely the gay president. And he was the guy that...
Hey, whatever floats your boat, that's what I say. I can care less what the hell you do. Whatever floats your boat. Hey, you want to do that stuff? You want to sleep with another male?
I'm a libertarian.
If you're female? Yeah.
I'm what I would call... I'm not a libertarian pure because I believe they missed the entire cultural story. I call myself a conservative libertarian. But having said that, what you do in the privacy of your home is your business. I'm not trying to criticize. I'm just pointing out that James Buchanan was a disastrously bad president who, in the end, lit the fuse to the Civil War. The Civil War really never had to happen, but we had a crazy incompetent. And by the way, slavery was going to end anyway. It was done in the Western Hemisphere by 1883. It was when Brazil let the last slaves go. It was doomed. It was a doomed economic model. It was going to, and thank God, believe me, I'm all about civil rights and freedom. It's just that it was going to happen without 600,000 people having to die.
Herbie, one second, guys. I was going to pre-warn you because, once he talks, oh man, it's hard to get a sentence in. But he's a really, really good guest. I'm really honored to have him back on, guys. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Democrats like to say that no one needs an AR-15 for self-defense, that no one could possibly need all 30 rounds. But when this rifle is the only thing standing between your family and a dozen angry Democrats in Klan hoods, you just might need that semi-automatic and all 30 rounds.
Meet career politicians Tammy Baldwin and Joe Biden. They've been bobbing along for years, but what have they really done for you? After 25 years together in D.C., they agree on nearly everything, and she votes with him 95.5% of the time. On their watch, American families are paying more for everything and are vulnerable to a wide-open southern border that's risking the safety of every American. It's time we stop electing politicians that just nod along and send a real problem solver to Washington. It's time to retire Tammy Baldwin.
So Sas, welcome to the show, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, man. So what do you think of Herbie so far? Seems to be a well-endowed guy, right? I mean,
well, I think. Oh boy, I know he's probably in the green room. I know. I would say
he's still there, Sas. Yeah.
I'm kind of. He said that Joe Biden is not the worst president. I want to beg to differ on that one, because you go to the store and look at the prices. You look at the Social Security stuff. Jimmy Carter, Jimmy Carter. A lot of people say that he was the worst president of the United States. I mean, that is debatable. And there he is. Jimmy Carter was the worst president.
Let me just say, by the way, I think Joe Biden is the worst president in American history. That's the whole point of what I'm saying. But not for the reasons that you're citing. All that other stuff you're citing is all window dressing. He's the worst president. He made the single worst decision ever made by a president in the history of the United States. And I'm ready to let you know what that is as soon as you're ready for me to tell you.
Well, is that decision of pulling out Afghanistan, and having blood on his hands, and undoing all President Trump's executive orders regarding the border? No. I mean, to me, that's like when you're purposely.
That's all bad stuff, but it has nothing to do with what's going to kill us. What he did was abrogate the Bretton Woods Agreement by punishing Russia by shutting them out of SWIFT, the Society for World Information Technology Exchange. When we shut Russia out of SWIFT, we broke the implicit agreement that we made in 1948 that made the dollar the reserve standard of all currencies in the world. The promise was, regardless of what happens, we would never use the dollar as a weapon. So all during the Cold War, all during the time the Soviet Union and what we used to call Red China was competing with us, they were all trading in dollars on the open market because they knew the United States would never weaponize the dollar. Joe Biden weaponized the dollar, and in doing so, he created BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, now including the UAE, Bahrain, Indonesia. Who am I forgetting? Oh, and most importantly, Saudi Arabia. This is a block of countries that have now come to the conclusion correctly that the United States can no longer be trusted to have the dollar as the world's reserve currency. So now they're beginning to trade things like oil, which is the lifeblood of the world economy, in currencies other than the dollar. What this means is we can no longer continue to ad infinitum finance our deficits by selling U.S. bonds to foreign investors who no longer trust our bonds. So what we're doing now is we're buying our own bonds in the largest Ponzi scheme in history to support our welfare state. And when you get into Social Security and Medicare, let me explain something to you. And this is why Donald Trump is a moron. Okay? He consistently says, I will not touch Social Security and Medicare. Bullshit. Let me tell you something. Without Social Security and Medicare, we would not be in a current account deficit at all. That is what is causing the deficit. Period. End of story.
And people living with disabilities, so they can stay in their homes and family caregivers can finally get the pay they deserve. Tonight, let's all agree once again to stand up for seniors. Many of my friends on the other side of the aisle want to put Social Security on the chopping block. If anyone here tries to cut Social Security, Medicare, or raise the retirement age, I will stop you.
Has to be reformed. He can't say bullshit like that.
But Herbie, do you actually think he will do the same thing that, just quite recently Nikki Haley? You just mentioned Social Security. What a segue to bring this in.
We're not going to get to his presidency.
Do you think he would do the same thing that Nikki Haley, openly admitted, saying she will raise Social Security? You think he'll raise Social Security if he gets elected in November?
It doesn't matter what they do. This is all. We're all just dancing on the graves of what's already done. We can no longer structurally finance our deficits by selling to foreign investors because nobody trusts the dollar anymore. So it's being rapidly replaced by other currencies and international exchange. That means we can no longer count on our dollar being held as a reserve currency. We can no longer count on world financial institutions buying dollars. So what's happening now is our Federal Reserve is issuing fiat make-believe money to finance the ongoing bonds and the interest, which they're rolling over on increasing interest rates on U.S. debt. And it's too late. We're already over the edge. There's nothing that can be done.
I got to put this in there. You said make-believe money. Do you think the make-believe money is a lot of this crypto shit? No. Because I look at it as make-believe money.
Well, that's a scam.
It's actual currency.
No. There's Bitcoin and then there's crypto. These are two completely different things. And that's what people don't understand. Bitcoin is the hardest currency the world has ever seen. You cannot screw with it. The algorithm cannot be altered, and there's only 21 million in existence, making it the hardest currency ever created. That's what makes Bitcoin unique. That's why it's currently climbing over 55,000, and you're going to see Bitcoin, as absurd as this is going to sound, and I know how dumb this sounds, Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million. And the reason it's going to go to $1 million.
$1 million.
Oh boy! I think I see a unicorn there. Oh, unicorns do exist. I'm sorry.
Listen to me. Just let me finish the thought, and you'll understand. By the way, I don't think it's the only alternative. I think people should be buying Bitcoin, gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and getting their money out of all financial markets, domestic or global, because we're about to have a world economic crash of such proportion to make the Great Depression look like a happy memory. We're about to experience political and global economic upheaval so intense, and so our entire way of life was flushed down the toilet the moment we abrogated Bretton Woods. Now it's all we're just going to play out a string. People don't understand this. It's over. Donald Trump cannot prevent this. Closing the border cannot prevent this. Trying to raise taxes on Social Security cannot prevent this. It's too late. we're over the edge. Now the discussion has to change to what comes next, and it has to come into, and it's going to have to be something that, well, frankly, your previous guest had said, I remember, he said that James Madison didn't write the Constitution. Yes, he did. He wrote the Constitution. And he explained the Constitution in what are called the Federalist Papers.
Of course he did.
And the Federalist Papers.
I don't know where that came from. To be honest with you, Herbie, I was hearing that. I'm like, no.
No. James Madison wrote the Constitution. And he published in what are called the Federalist Papers, which were a series of newspaper articles that were published simultaneously explaining why he wrote the Constitution the way he did. So if anybody wants to understand the original intent of the Constitution, you need only, I have it on my Kindle. You can get, it's easy to find. Get a copy of the Federalist Papers and read them. And it's not incomprehensible. It's just that nobody reads them anymore. Having said all of that, it's too late. The party's over. We're all just dancing on the graves of a system that's done. We abandoned our republic a long time ago when we turned America. There's a reason the word democracy does not appear in the Constitution. I don't know if people understand that. If you read the Constitution,
because we're not a democracy.
Well, no. Yes,
I don't understand why people get confused between a democracy and a republic. We are a constitutional republic. We've always had.
We're a constitutional republic. We are a democracy. We have descended into mob rule. That's what's going on here. Okay.
We're I hate to, kind of piggyback a little bit of what my guest said, but I do agree what he said before, on yesterday's episode, where he basically said that, it's the ultimate betrayal of our own government. I do agree with that, to an extent. Listen, we are literally going into almost like a third world, a banana republic.
Well, what's going on?
We're losing principles. We're losing message.
I agree. Donald Trump is a manifestation of the anger of the 80% of normal people in this country who work hard for a living and want to support their families. And Donald Trump represents what I would think of as a primal scream. He's the only person in American public life speaking what people perceive as truth to power. And a lot of the things he says are true. I am not an enemy of Donald Trump. I just don't think he understands that the party's already over. I don't think anybody understands that. When he says things
I think, you know what it is, Herbie? I think, I hate to chime in, but this is an excellent conversation we're having. But,
well, what do you mean by party, though?
I mean, our entire...
I was going to say something, but I lost my train of thought.
What do I mean by party? Our entire so let me explain where we are, just why I say so. Social Security, Medicare, and welfare, which is AFDC, Aid to Families with Dependent Children, is what we call welfare. Those three programs alone account for 100% of the current account deficit. 100%. If those things didn't exist, we could spend money on everything else. Defense, EV chargers, whatever the fuck we wanted, pardon my language, and we can afford all of it. However, that's a pipe dream because we're not going to eliminate Social Security, Medicare, and AFDC. Having said that, and that's because we live in a democracy where nobody does the right fucking thing. Let me contrast America to Sweden, and I'm going to use that for a reason. Sweden has a successful welfare state and at the same time maintains a capitalist economy. They are not a socialist economy by any stretch of the imagination. Sorry, Bernie Sanders, you're an idiot. Anyway, having said that, Sweden supports their welfare state by taxing their middle class. The income tax begins in Sweden at 35%. Begins. Okay, there's no getting out of it. If you make $35,000 a year by an American standard, 35% of that immediately goes to local taxes. By the way, most taxes in Sweden are collected at the local level because you're looking at a country that's the size of an American county in many cases. I mean, it's a much smaller country. The other thing that Sweden has a huge advantage of is that it only has 11 million people. It's about the size of Los Angeles. And all of those people are racially and culturally homogeneous. I'm not saying that to be a racial statement. I'm saying that when you have one race of people, one religion, in this case, the Lutheran religion, one set of cultural
So here's my question for you, Herbie. Would you believe that socialism... Yeah, I was going to say, would you believe that socialism would work for America?
No, socialism can't work. A welfare state can exist.
Throwing that out there.
You can have a welfare state, which is not socialism. Okay, it's providing a cultural safety.
We're on the right path then. I just wanted to make sure,
But you have to pay for it. And the point of the matter is 52% of our population doesn't pay any income tax at all and thinks that it does. You take out a man on the street and you say, who should pay for all of this? And the answer is always the rich. Well, the top 5% pay 40% of the taxes, and the rest of the other 48% pay 100% of the taxes. And 52% of the population, the very people who are receiving the bulk of these benefits, don't pay any taxes at all, no matter what they say. It's bullshit. Okay? We cannot, and if we were to impose a Swedish-type tax of 35% on all income across the board, no deductions on anybody, you would have a revolt. Okay, it will cause violence in the streets. It's not going to happen. There's no point in even talking about it. On top of everything else, the Swedish also have a 25% VAT, a value-added tax. That means that every single thing you buy in Sweden, from a cup of coffee to an automobile, costs 25% more than it does here because of the VAT built into everything to pay for the welfare state. Now, the reason that the Swedish willingly do this is because there are 11 million people who are all white and Lutheran and have the same cultural Viking heritage, and they all think about the same way, and they have a government that's...
You don't think we're doing that right now in the United States, though, Herbie?
No. No, our racial diversity is our strength and our weakness, both at the same time.
What's the vibe we're giving?
It's simple. I think that what I like about it is that it's very like back to how we created the song, which is very much like me and Phineas, and kind of nothing else. There's like some little other things going on, but it's very much like the two of us, and that's like very special to me.
What was I made for?
Been to the Oscars more than once, you know. It's
wild.
Like, I just want to come to your house and see the award.
You should. It's pretty cool. It looks pretty good.
No, it's not lost on us at all. It's so crazy. We were just saying that, we thought the first time we were nominated might be the only time in our lives we were here. And, this time it's like this could very well be the last time we're ever nominated. We don't take it for granted. We're so honored to be here.
I just didn't think this would happen. I was not expecting this. I feel so incredibly lucky and honored. Thank you to Greta. Where did you go? I love you. Thank you for this.
I work out 5 days a week, but like the projection.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I do talk radio podcasting, but I dabble in the movie industry as an extra. I love the extras because it's quick, it's easy. You don't have to sit on a set for like 12, 15 hours. They put, okay, we're ready for you. 3 seconds. All right, you're done. Thank you very much, and then you're done.
Yeah, so I pull up at the gym in my fancy car, and all of a sudden people are like, who the hell is this guy? It's interesting. And then I get those women like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a worship coach, right? And my beautiful wife and 2 kids, and it just sticks together right there.
I was just in Charleston. Get this, Andrea. We're going to close it up. I was just in Charleston about a couple weeks ago for a production. Not allowed to say or disclose because of contract issues. But I was on a location in Charleston, and it was a big production, right? And I'm going in there, and I'm speaking to the directors and producers that are on the set. And I'm like, well, how long is this going to be? And because like I said, I mentioned I'm usually like an extra, so I like the extra.
Get me out of here.
And they're like 5-6 minutes, not even. I was like, okay. Wow. I go in, I come out, and then as soon as I come out, there's like little independent cameras and paparazzi. Like, who's that? Who's that? It's like they want to know who it is because it's pre-production. They want to get those shots. Like the paparazzi's like that, man. You see that in Hollywood and LA. They want to get those shots and put it on social media because it's pre-production, so they can give spoilers, and that's fun. But anyway,
part of the game. So again, the whole thing is in that company. What I hear from my clients, by the way, it's just something that you probably don't know, but besides being a relationship coach, right, and do all the mental work, and like what I say is I can't get anybody in a healthy relationship until we clean up your baggage. So that's part of the work, right? Clean up your baggage of your past, of your childhood, of past relationships. That shit's got to come up in order for you to be actually at choice as opposed to driven by the belief that you have accumulated over the years with bad relationships, right? So, but at the end, part of my mojo, I guess you call it, is I'm an ordained minister. So some of my clients, not only do I help them in clean them up and put in relationships. Right? So someone like Mike, I married them myself. I just did two. Not some. I flew to Texas for a couple, and I flew to Vegas for another one. Just cherry on the Sunday. Right? So again, that's what I'm saying is it's doable. It's
only that we have completely mismanaged.
No, I was going to say, you don't think we're doing that the same way? Of course we are.
Where? How? I don't get it.
But we're similar to Sweden. I mean, we're paying huge amounts of tax right now.
No, we're not. No, we're not even.
I mean, you're clearly seeing that right now.
That is the American delusion. We think we're paying taxes. We're financing our entire government out of government bonds in the world's largest Ponzi scheme. This is why Joe Biden's the worst president in history. By aggregating the reason we got away with it. So what happens is at the end of the year, when we have one of these $1 trillion or $2 trillion deficits, the Treasury issues Treasury bonds. Now, traditionally, which is a bond is a fancy word for loan. Okay, the Treasury issues these bonds so that someone will loan them the money to pay for our current account structural deficit. And now we've always been able to do that because the dollar is the reserve currency of the world. So other countries, like China is a really good example, would buy up trillions of dollars of U.S. debt along with our own institutions.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Right. Stay with me. Our banks, our insurance companies, our private pension funds, our state pension funds, our union pension funds, they were all buying U.S. government bonds, okay, to back up their own reserves because of the dollar's special status as the world's reserve currency. In fact, that is what is constantly repeated by the mainstream economists still. They just don't grasp it yet. So what's going on here is those markets have dried up. The foreigners have stopped buying our bonds. And because Joe Biden felt it necessary to pick a new Cold War with China, completely unnecessary, because the Chinese have no territorial ambitions outside of China. I don't know where this wild Cold War idea came from. Anyone who understands Chinese history knows the Chinese have never been an expansionist power, and their military is nothing more than a giant internal police force disguised as an army. The People's Liberation Army is an internal police force. I'm sorry. They have no blue water navy. Yeah. They have no long-term air force. They have no long-term. They are not a threat to the United States or any of our allies. This is propaganda.
Oh, China is it?
No, they're no threat to us at all.
So you're saying, okay, hold on. So you're saying 45,000 people coming into the through the southern border and
you're conflating two issues. You're conflating two issues. I didn't say illegal immigration wasn't a problem. I said the Chinese are not a problem. That's two completely different things.
But the Chinese are already here in America, though, through the police precincts. In Times Square, they have
I hate to tell you this. As far as I'm concerned, we ought to be shipping Chinese citizens over here because Asians, as a group, listen to me finish my thought before you jump off into Trumpian land. Listen. Okay. Just try to let me finish the thought before you go off into whatever you're going to go off into. Asians, as a group, are by far the highest earning and best part of the American economy. It's not even a horse race. They out-earn Caucasians 2-to-1. Their families are intact. 82% of Asian children are born into two-parent families. I'm sorry, it's true. For example, of black families, 82% of black children are born into single-parent families. You want to know why our cities are falling apart? That's why our cities are falling apart. So as Asians come in here, to have a country, you have to control your borders. But Asian immigrants are not the problem. I'm sorry, they're just not. They're coming here to work, and they're going to stay married, and they're going to raise their children together, and they want to work. They're the hardest working people in the world. We need to clean up the border. I don't disagree with you for lots of reasons, but not the reasons you think.
So Herbie, here's my question. Here's my question, buddy. Where do you think the disconnect is? You just mentioned statistics. These statistics are true, okay, with, black individuals growing up mainly in fatherless households, okay? Guys, that's not racist. You could challenge me to whatever level you want to challenge me on, but that's not racist. Those are true statistics. I do agree with you on that, okay? But here. You have to blame it on something. What do you want to blame it on, Herbie? I mean, you have to blame it on something. Do you want to blame it on Democratic cities? Do you want to blame it on Republican cities? Do you want to blame it on... There has to be an altercation of why some Caucasian families are somewhat I don't want to use the word successful, but, do have higher educational levels. I see that to an extent. I do. I truly do. But, I mean, where's the disconnect with that?
Well, first of all, I would disagree we have to blame someone. We have no one to blame but ourselves. We voted this in. This is what democracy does.
It's a constitutional republic. No, it was a constitutional republic. Now it's a constitutional democracy, sort of, with a constitution that's ignored when it's inconvenient by whoever happens to be in office. And that's where all this presidential executive bullshit comes from. The presidency was never designed to be the office that it is. It's where a lazy Congress sloughs off its responsibilities to a chief executive rather than make hard decisions itself. As for who's to blame for this, let me tell you, George Bush II, W, tried to pass comprehensive immigration reform and Social Security reform in his first year in office and got shot down by his own party on both. Remember, the Republicans for the first term of George W. Bush had the trifecta. They controlled the Congress, both houses, and the presidency, and did not pass immigration reform and did not pass Social Security reform. They shot it down because they're as guilty as the Democrats. This blaming both party bullshit. Donald Trump had the trifecta for the first 2 years he was president. He didn't go near Social Security. He didn't go near immigration reform. Yeah. Why? Because both parties are culpable in this disaster. I could fix. You want to know how to fix the border? Would you like me to outline exactly how?
Yeah. One second.